Alright, welcome to today's video. The showcase today is for an Afanas Senka deck that we have. This is pretty close to what I would consider the best deck I can build. We'll go through a couple of the more interesting choices that I've made, as well as the cards that I think are a bit suspect. So those are the ones we'll be looking at in the games to see if we hold on to them for too long. Within context, and if we're sending things to reserve overly much. So the deck is about generating card advantage through your spells. That's why we have a fairly high spell concentration at nearly half. But there are not all of them are designed for getting us through the game. Some are for either protecting us at the end, or just outright winning the game. I think it's pretty clear at the moment that small step giant leap really opens up a lot of plays for purple and pink players, as it effectively means you need to stop them from getting their expeditions touching rather than on top of each other as every other deck needs to. The issues are that I believe, with the exception of Kadgiran Alchemist, none of our cards are the full 1/1/1 per mana invested rate, with the caveat being that playing any of our more efficient spells is what elevates them above that. Currently playing five instances of sabotage between 3 Spycrafts, 2 Tooth Fairies. I think if we go through the games and we are fairly low on creatures to play, we could consider swapping that around, but the Spycraft has the added advantage of being card advantage into the reserve, as we have a lot of ways of recurring cards. So our uniques today, we have a 2/2 red with Seasoned, and when it goes to reserve from the Expedition Zone, if it has 2 or more boosts, you can return a spell from reserve to your hand. Has insane synergy with Helping Hand specifically. So for 3 mana from both in hand, you can get that boost, bring the Helping Hand back, and then you can recur red over and over for 3 mana using what you wish to generate advantage in the other side, because eventually once red has gone through a few turns, it is going to be far too big to contest. Our Studio's Disciple is another spell cycler. The good thing about it is 1 from reserve, so very efficient to play on the second turn. And if it has 1 or more boost, it can return any card from reserve to hand. So the added flexibility of bringing your creatures back, or in very edge cases, your Category landmark to hand if you've somehow resupplied it into reserve. Very good card that you want to be recurring a lot from reserve. So not really making too much advantage of that supportability, but that's okay. And the third one is Alice, which is slightly different. I'd say this is the most suspect of the 3, and the one I'm likely to cut for another card cycler. But when cards leave reserve, if you have 1 or more boosts, target character can gain 1 boost. So really good synergy with your spells that don't have fleeting, as the way that you can stack triggers casting a spell from reserve means that you can give Alice a boost from 0 to give something else a boost. So a Helping Hand, a Magical Training, and off you go, all from either being sent back to your hand by something like Flamel, or one of your other uniques actually lets you generate those boosts that we really need to meet rate. For cards with support abilities, you have the Hathor. Obviously, each of our uniques has 1 Flamel also has one. So you've got ways to remove things, and it does come up occasionally that you don't want to use anything just to give a boost. So basically, effectively, with Alice on the field, each of your support abilities reads something gets a boost. If you can get into those loops of taking things back to hand from reserve, Alice can get quite large. However, that 4 mana from reserve means you're very unlikely to be playing that unless it's a super late game effect, and if you're in that situation, after you can be a much more of a game breaker. Late game, we have the Katagear, Ysmir Bastion, something to play, and a Fun of One of Celebration Day. If you have both of these in hand, you can start to generate day locks until you hit your small step giant leaps. But the reason that we play the rare version instead of the common is that if you play something from hand, it loses fleeting. So small step giant leap, even as the common version can have, you can get 2 activations out of it, or even more. I suppose the ideal case line from, what would you say? Say from 10 mana. Say the previous turn you've played your Katagear, you've played Celebration Day, so nothing moved forward on the day that you couldn't threaten any expeditions. You play a small step giant leap through hand and then Flamel, or alternatively having red in your hand, in reserve at the time, can let you move forward 2 expeditions in one go. The cards I am most suspicious of are the Katagear and the Alchemist. There may be some other option in Trial by Frost, as you may or may not be aware, or you may not noticed. This is entirely Beyond the Gates cards. There are no Trial by Frost options. Exhausting stuff in reserve or just something with an efficient rate would be something I'd look to swap in that slot. And the Banishing Gates, but Trial by Frost was fairly limited on removal spells I would consider. There are some at higher costs that you could play, say 4 removal options, but they are likely less efficient. Banishing Gate, I think, is good into specific matchups, namely Ordis matchups, getting rid of monoliths. This is the only card that you have for that option, as well as the token generators. The Spindle can be a big backbreaker because it means that your off you goes are no longer efficient either. So 2 off for that one because we're likely to send it to reserve or send it to mana quite often. All right. That being said, let's get into game number 1. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. If you see any misplays that I make, also feel free to drop them as you go along. However, I will be doing a debrief at the end of each of these videos as well and see if our predictions came to fruition, or if there was anything I noticed throughout the games. So misplays or anything I think that I didn't pick up here, that would be good to make changes. Alright, on to game number 1. Alright, here we are with our first game of our 3-game series for Afanas Senka in this iteration. Spelunky is the name of the deck. Let's crack it open. We're on the play and we are up against Kesha and Taru. So Ysmir mirror match, but a few things that are going to be fairly different. Alright, so Celebration Day is a big no-no here. I am interested in both Helping Hand and the Hathor, so maybe how important is Sabotage going to be in this game? because we're in a purple matchup, I'm probably going to be at similar stat rates, so I'm going to risk it for the biscuit. Make sure that we can generate our card advantage with a Baba Yaga. Yeah, let's start off with that one. It's a pretty okay first turn play. Alright, so we could gear and Mage Dancer plus Helping Hand here is pretty good. That is a semi-repeatable draw engine. We'll lose the first round because they use the rare Baba Yaga, but we'll pass. And we're okay with that. We'll see how loosey-goosey our opponent is with their After You effect each turn. You'll find that a lot of Akesha players tend to just hit it on the first go each round. Alrighty. Got Flamel. We're doubling up on recursion here, but that's not too bad. I think we've decided now, getting rid of 2 of our Tooth Fairies, that Sabotage isn't going to be the way to go. So we'll see how that pans out in the game. Alright, a Spycraft, ain't too mad about that. Alright, I've got a Celestial Burst. Alright, we'll drop the Mage Dancer and we'll see what they do. Do they contest? Do they not? We're not sure. Alright, so we can either take the double up here, we'll go 2 to 1 and even everything up. And that leaves us with Hathor in reserve to return the Helping Hand to hand next turn. We are looking okay here. They'll pass, we'll pass. They held on to the After You effect. It's not that important this early in the game, so we'll withhold judgment. Alrighty. We're going first. We might be able to recur a magical training here and there, but let's see how we do with a bit of removal instead. We've got 1, potentially 2 more card draw off of the Mage Dancer, plus we can return something to hand with Flamel and the Mage and the Hathor as well. Alright. We'll try and fade another Baba Yaga. Contesting in there. Get a Flamel. That ain't too bad. Now, we do have another sneaky option here. So if we play the Hathor, what's more important to us here? Card advantage or going ahead? So we can go 2 to 0 here and push on. And that is quite the appealing option right now. I think because we have Flamelin, we can actually return the Helping Hand next turn. We could go that. However, I think maintaining our advantage here is probably not too bad an option. Yeah. Alright, we have to do it, because otherwise we're going to have to discard something anyway, so we'll put it back in hand, pass our turn. Draw an extra card, see how we do. So far we've evened everything up, and we've got a decent engine running. Another Hathor's not too bad there. We'll see what we can do with it next turn. That's probably too many Flamels. We're probably okay just dropping one of those into reserve and keeping a variety of options open. Yeah, I tend to undervalue the second copy of a card in games, unless it's really important. Like if it was, say, Flamel was the second Helping Hand, I'd probably hold on to that to play around Sabotage and all of that, because that's where we're vulnerable. But we could have considered getting rid of the magical training as well. probably going to see a redrop of the Flamel, unless he wants to just get rid of one thing, but that's pretty weak from him, so I doubt he's going to Celestial Burst us on this turn. Let's see what they do. What am I worried about? He could drop an Off You Go here. We'll get the Flamel in. Alright, we'll protect against that. So if it does get sent to reserve, at the very least, it'll go back to reserve instead of being discarded with fleeting. Let's see what we do. Alright, we've got a Pomola here. One more drop. Can we get Hathor to 5? We could potentially tie Off You Go. So if we played Hathor into Off You Go on this thing, that would get it to 4. Uh, do we consider just offing our own Hathor, send it to reserve, put Helping Hand back in hand? No, that's probably too much card advantage lost. I think we'll play our magical training, take it slow, see what they do. Here's an option. Nah, we'll just keep drawing some cards. Can't be too mad about that. That's probably too many Mage Dancers, although this is a very strong card in the matchup. So it's quite an efficient engine. Playing 1 and 1 here, so we're probably going to try and drop, say, 1 Mage Dancer, 2 Mage Dancers. Spycraft. We'll get rid of one of those. We'll hold on to the other one. We'll see what he wants to do. Alright. Yeah. We'll drop it on this side. So if he wants to play Pomola, we at least have the green that we can try and contest in. Get rid of the Spycraft. Spycraft away our Helping Hand. That's a little disappointing, but where can we go from here? Yeah, let's push our advantage. Try and get 2 Mage Dancers on the field. Go away, you error messages. Don't know if it's bad internet or just because I'm in Australia, but we do get those fairly frequently. Alright, so 4 more mana to use. We could Spycraft Off You Go. That gets a full 3. Yeah. Alright, that gives us an extra option. Something goes to reserve. We'll get rid of the Celestial Burst. Ooh, that's interesting. Do we consider it? We'll see. If we find that he can do something here, we'll try and figure it out. If we play the Off You Go, basically anything else we play here will cause us to discard something to reserve, but if we play Off You Go, we can add 2 boosts onto one of our Mage Dancers and then 1 onto the other one. Yeah. I'm thinking about doing it anyway because it means we'll draw an extra card. He's sort of just letting us do it. Um, well, helping hand here. Give this, get rid of fleeting on here. So we've just got two one drops that are quite powerful in reserve for next turn. Give it a guy. He's passed. We've got 4 looks at a card we haven't seen yet, which is Small Step Giant Leap. So we'll draw both of our cards. There it is. We just win. Alrighty. That was a pretty clean and comfy game. I'm never too worried when I see a Kesha. I feel like it's just a weaker version of the Izmir deck that we get at the moment. Once again, not really my style to play with my opponent on camera, so we'll send something to reserve. Nearly clicked the small step, so that may have been a massive bleed, but we successfully navigated that. The only thing that we would risk is the Sakurabru. Didn't get that one quite in hand. Let's play this on that side. He won't be able to do anything. Well, potentially not. Let's see what he does with his one drop. I am worried about that. So we'll play both out because we still can. That just covers for something coming into play. There you go. Alright. That seems like a pretty heads up play. We'll send our Hero Expedition forward again, negating that Sakurabru, adding 5 power onto one side. He'll move forward, we'll move forward, and we'll win. Give him a GG's. Move on to the next game, whatever number it is. Probably game 2. Go, move forward. And we like hearing that noise. Alright, on to the next game. Alright, here we are with game number 2 of our Afanas Senka video. Took a bit of a break to try and get the video quality under control. 2 or 3 days. And we are on the play against Kojo and Buddha. Alright, let's have a quick look at what we're working with here. Alright, it's probably going to be 1-2. Small Step Giant Leap and Celebration Day are not going to be good for very long. We'll hopefully draw into another one. And I think we will remove Flamel, despite being a secondary source of card advantage, as we are wanting for spells at the moment. Alright, I think we play the Alchemist turn 1, just to try and challenge there, use all of his points in one area to stop us from moving forward. Because if he could match us with 2 against the Baba Yaga and move against 1, we would be very far behind. Alright, we have a Sayringer. I leave if I was fleeting, draw a card. He's not fleeting. We'll see what he does with that, because if he keeps it in reserve turn 2, we will have the option to sabotage it. That's what we'll be looking to do. Oh, another Alchemist and a Hathor. Probably get rid of the Alchemist here. We need the card advantage, and then very far down the track, maybe a turn or 2 from now, we can look at returning the Baba Yaga to our hand with Hathor. Not an ideal target, but it will get us burning through a bit more of our deck. Alright, he bounces, so we will sabotage the Sayringer. Not let him draw a card here. And if he passes here instead of playing a 1-drop, we can at least advance on one side. We trade there, so we are a bit behind, but that's okay. We don't mind being behind here. It's only one expedition after all. Alright, we have an option. Make a small play. We could return the Tooth Fairy to our hand and play that. And get rid of the bouncer. What would that look like if we played that? We play that one, play Baba Yaga, that uses all our mana, draws a card. Or we could sabotage, off you go, magical training. I think we discard. That leaves us very low on actual power though. Alright, we'll get rid of the Baba Yaga. We'll cast Magical Training, draw a card and reassess from there. We've always got the option of sending off the bouncer with off you go if we don't sabotage right now. So we'll utilize Magical Training as a pseudo after you effect. Pass the turn. And that gives us a bit more of a play, I suppose. We can off you go and Hathor this turn. We'll get rid of the Tooth Fairy. And then I suppose we're at the mercy of the top deck, because we'll have no creatures in hand or play. Let's see what they do first. Understandable. I think we'll try and contest on the other side here. Send the trace to reserve, get a little bit of extra value because it already had the fleeting, and that's a 1-for-1 trade. You can't be too mad about that when we only had one creature in hand and reserve. Alright, we're going to have to hope for a creature off the top of our deck because we've only got spells right now. I think the ideal would be one of our 3 uniques, because that lets us build advantage. Okay, that is probably the least powerful of the ones that we have at the moment. But I think we'll have to hold on to it, unfortunately. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5. If we don't play mana this turn, we will be behind the rest of the game. But I don't really think we can afford to get rid of any of our cards. Which is truly unfortunate. What are we going to do here? I think we play the Alice. Try and push our way to a victory. If he plays one of the Haven bounces, he has to expect that something's coming. But this is not looking too good. Alright, he's tapped out. Cast Magical Training, draw a card. That's not too helpful this early in the game. But then again, we are a bit behind. This is one of the uniques that I'm looking to get upgraded, I think. Alice is pretty good. There are situations where I can get fairly strong in a turn. However, there are times like this where its value may go a little bit wayward. We'll get rid of the Katagear and double check our mana, 1 each of our big spells, which means we have No celebration days in hand. One small step, one category. So if we can turn it around, it's going to start looking like that. So at 6 mana, we have the option to play. We are cutting it close, I suppose. But we're looking to play maybe Flamel, trade once more, and try and win both for the next turn. That's looking pretty shifty though. I reckon that's the play though. We are. The only question is whether we use the After You this turn or next turn. So we can bring back Magical Training Helping Hand, trade once more. I think we'll do that. Gather a little bit of information, see what they plan on doing. We can play out much of our hand. Could play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how much do they have in play at the moment? So +2, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can get 1, 2, 3 on top of it. Alright. We'll ask the question with Magical Training anyway. From reserve to hand. It doesn't help us too much. 3. We draw a card, they go to 4, we trade there. So he'll probably pass here. Doesn't cost him anything to do that, and he basically knows that we can't do too much. Oh dear. That is a problem. A problem we can't actually resolve. Oh well, GG's. That's game. That was not the card I was expecting. Alright, on to game number 3. Alright, here we are, game 3 of our first ever video. So, grats me, I guess, for being a YouTuber now. We've got a mirror matchup to finish. Alright, obviously this is going to come down very much to what both of us draw. And we are experimenting with the quality of our recordings to see what we can get. Alright, this is about as bad a hand as I can think of. So we'll get rid of the leap, we'll get rid of the banishing gate. Suppose we have to play something, don't we? So we don't want to get rid of the Tooth Fairy over the Spycraft, but I kinda don't want to do that because that is worse now. Oh, alright, we're going a little bit nuts. We're not going to be playing any creatures turn 1. We're just going to hope that he plays something that is a 3-drop that we can kill and just blank the first turn again. What do you do, my friend? That is the main question. Could be anything. Moth to a flame. We have to read this one. Makes a mana moth token. This feels a little bit bad, I guess. You know, using a real card on something that's not actually a card. I suppose it functionally is, in a way. We'll figure it out. Hopefully we draw something good off the top. Some form of two drop, sorry. A Mage Dancer is pretty good here. Magical Training's good. Spycraft is good. So we could, on this turn, I think we'll get rid of the Spycraft. The Magical Training could be anything though, even a Spycraft. Alright, so we can dodge off you go. We can put ours back in our hand. Play the Flamel, see what they do. We're at their mercy. They can do whatever they want. So, Tooth Fairy. Oh, they're going to tie it. Actually, no, they're going to win this. Moth to a Flame. Yeah, either way they win one. We don't move forward in this phase, so that makes sense from them. Oh no. It's alright. We've got 4 cards to 3 in play, or that we can play. Add those two. Red is pretty good here. So let's try and do something this turn. So 5 mana. We could play the Flamel and see what they do. Studious Disciple. Okay, we can probably let's do this. We'll play the Mage Dancer, contest on one side. We are going to be dumping out our whole hand here though, so some things are going to have to go away. We'll see what they decide. Okay, so if we play red, play off you go. We play another Studious Disciple. What do we do here then? So we have to play red here if we want to put 2 counters on it to get something returned to hand. So I suppose we just have to risk that they don't have Off You Go as the last card in their hand. Statistically speaking, it is 100% likely. If we give 2 boosts to the red though, that leaves I miscounted. I don't know what I'm doing here. That was a big old brain fart from me, wasn't it? Alright, that's what I get for recording at midnight. So, if I don't do anything, Magical Training goes to reserve. Flamel is already there. Both these guys go. I think we use use this. Yeah, they're gonna have a big turn next turn. That's alright. We'll use magical training. Ah, there you go. We played perfect. Put one on the red. Now we could put both on here. Return one of the magical trainings to hand. Draw a Hathor. Or we draw a card. What's more important here? It ends up being pretty much the same, I think. It's alright, we'll do it like this. We'll see how this works out, eh? Works out perfectly. We're drawing that next turn anyway, I suppose. We've got magical training back in hand. Just get rid of both of these. We don't need them. Not compared to what else we've got in play. Reserve, sorry, not play. 2 Hathors is probably too much, but I do like the efficiency of it over the Baba Yaga. Now that we've got some form of card engine going. Let's see what they are going to do with these disciples. Yeah. Fully expecting some form of sabotage. Oh, they got a mage dancer. That's alright with me. We'll play our red, contest there, see what they want to do. Is it removal? That is the big question. Not sure what they're deciding on. 1, 2, that could take them up to 6, so small step. Celestial Burst is greater than that. Okay, so they're going to play this, add an extra 3, gets to 8. Alright, we'll start our loop with the red. Okay, it's already got 2 boosts on it. If he plays Moth to a Flame, so we could draw a card if we play on the Kedgiran Mage Dancer. But this way? Oh no, it's exhausted. Actually, we're going to be getting rid of the Mage Dancer here. So I think we put it on... We actually put it on the Mage Dancer. What are they going to do? Are they going to pass? I'm curious. Don't think it's worth it for them to play the Disciple. We could stop them moving here. We can still progress if we play a Hathor, and that might set us up for next turn. Are we okay giving them 1 expedition? Actually think we are. So if we do this, we both progress. I move forward one more, we end up two ahead. Red sends the helping hand back to hand, and then we have the option of just removing the Mage Dancer next turn. They don't get a draw of cards, they're only playing off of the two that they have, plus the Mage Dancer and the Moth. We just have to fade. I suppose we just always have to fade removal and sabotage. That's always the scariest thing to see out of these Ysmir decks. Because it's quite plentiful, they could play up to 6 sabotage effects and 6 removal effects quite comfortably. But if they're playing Moth to a Flame, they might not be playing Banishing Gates, for example. Alright, do those, we get our trigger, we put Helping Hand back in hand. They have to be the first to play. We get a second, off you go. Which I think is actually more useful than the Mage Dancer here. We are quite flush for creatures, so we'll get rid of that one. It's really good early. It's the only fully on rate creature that we play. Bye bye red. Not too worried about that. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We could dump out our whole hand here. Don't know if that is the smart choice to make. But I think what we'll do is we'll make them commit. Alright, we'll contest. This doesn't actually win us the game. I'd be a lot happier if we were one separated with the play we were making here. The Moth to a Flame doesn't do too much. Yeah. We'll play the Helping Hand. Get this back. One, two. Now, if they don't do anything with the rest of their turn, we cast Off You Go. Send the Mage Dancer packing. Not going to be too up, so let's... Alright, if it's a magical training specifically, they're going to have to put the boost onto the Mage Dancer. Oh no, they're not. That's alright. Send that to the bin. Ah, and they concede. There you go. Wasn't the end of the game. Send them a GG's, unsolicited. But there you go. Suppose they wanted nothing to do with the rest of that game. I thought it was getting interesting. Suppose when you fall behind in a mirror matchup, it's not the best place to be. So there you go. That's our first 3 games done. On to the debrief. Alright, here we are after our 3 games with Spelunky. A 2-1 record, beating Afanas Senka and Akesha and Taru. And we lost to Kojo and Buddha. Let's have a quick chat about that second game, see if there were any decisions that we could have made better. I think it really came down to 2 moments, and then obviously, you know, can't complain too much about the cards that we drew, but we'll think about what we can do to change that for the matchup later down the track anyway. So there was a moment where we didn't respect the second Haven Bouncer out of hand with the Sabotage. We could have returned Tooth Fairy back to our hand and had a bit more interaction that we just ended up flat out losing because we didn't. We played Magical Training before um, bouncing the Tooth Fairy back to hand with Hathor. Um, so we played a bit conservatively there. I think you know it's not really the first color that comes to mind when Sabotage is thought of, but you do have to respect it out of there anyway. I think the only one you can really ignore Sabotage from would be most Muna matchups, I suppose. So that's something we could do better moving forward, and we didn't respect the magic slay at the end to bounce old mate forward twice. Any creature removal, so the off he goes, would have done that, or obviously something to match that the power, so they didn't move forward that turn. Would have given us more opportunities to get rid of it, as well as um, our banishing gates. Now that ties well into what I would think about changing in this deck list. The banishing gates are important in certain matchups, but they do get sent to mana quite often. They are your only two options against to discard landmarks, so I don't really think I'm ready to give up on those in that slot yet, as there's no appropriate replacements that I think slot right in there. If we were to look at anything to change, we'll have a quick squiz. I know there is that one spell from Trial by Frost, common rare spell. Let's filter for that and we'll see if we can find them. Ride the Bifrost would have done it, but I don't think that's useful in enough matchups. So let's just go through. Yeah, Celestial Burst is the one I was thinking of, but that would require a bit of a rebuild of the deck. I think that would potentially, we could put three of those in there, take out the two Banishing Gates and Celebration Day, have, two commons and a rare version. Kraken's Wrath is another option, however, that doesn't really solve the issue that we have with sort of just letting people sit there and have their permanents. We could look at Boom, but our creature count is far too low, I think, to justify it. Obviously, if you're playing a different hero where the sacrifice, what is it, thingy and more, it's probably an option I'd look at, but not ready to give up on it just yet. The other spots I'm looking at, I do like the rare Flamels, but we could downgrade those to the common version. We don't get the resupply, which is relatively important, and upgrade our Alchemist or Baba Yagas to improve our stat rate for what we're paying each turn. We did lose one. We did lose one expedition early on against the Kesha and Taru because they had the rare Baba Yaga. As a one-to-one thing, but we have the option for the commons, so I took that one here, but that's something you could think about changing. Common Flamels, rare Baba Yagas, if you're worried about stats. Could boost the Cadgear and Alchemist as well, because that makes it above rate with the 3 boosts from hand, and you still have the option to play it as a 1-drop from reserve. So that's also where I'm looking. I do like the Cadgear still, even though we didn't get to showcase it in these games. It has come up in others. Don't really want to send that to the bin without giving it a chance to shine. Everything else I'm pretty happy with. Mage Dancer was huge. Hathor was pretty good for getting getting some wins in expeditions that we might not have otherwise. Red's fantastic, Disciple's fantastic. I would look at swapping out the Alice if I could find another card cycler, I believe. We've got other options, and we'll probably change all of the uniques throughout these games as we evolve, just to give things a chance to shine. But those two are probably my Disciple and Red are probably two that I'm massively on lock with for those rare slots. I liked Off You Go, I liked Spycraft, I like Magical Training. And Helping Hand was obviously the GOAT in a lot of those situations. Cool. There you go. This is the first one. I've had a bit of trouble with figuring out video quality, but hopefully that's fixed. We'll double check after this and see if the debrief was a notably better quality than the rest of the video, and probably stick with that and look to improve moving forward. If you've got any suggestions for using OBS to record, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Alright, take it easy, see you next time, appreciate you all. Thanks.